True freedom requires the rule of law and justice. But what is justice without respect for human rights? What are these rights? Do you know your right as a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? What are your obligations and responsibilities under the law? Join Kayode Aderemi Esquire on The Law and You on Rockcity 101.9 FM, Sundays 3 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Good afternoon again from Rockcity 101.9 FM, your darling station. You know, whenever you hear that song, Tamola, it's always an indication at 3 p.m. that it's about time to have your program, The Law and You. I like to add that I'm speaking live from Abeokuta, Ogun State, Nigeria. And I love to add, like you know already, West Africa, for the sake of our listeners outside the country. Alright, you'll agree with me that I have said over time that life is centered on laws generally. How do I mean? Look at governance, for example. We have three arms of government. We have the executive arm, we have the judiciary, and we have the legislature. What does the legislature do, or what do? They make laws. Alright, there we have laws. What about the executive? From the word executive, they execute or enforce laws. What about the judiciary? They interpret laws. So if you look at the common denominator, or the common word to the three arms of government, you see that what is central to them all is law. That's why I will try on this program to bring you up to speed as to what your rights, your obligations are as Nigerians, whether you are an indigenous of Ogun State or not. Alright, that's why today we brought to you someone that will do justice to what many of you callers have been asking me, calling every now and then. Well, maybe I should have been a lawmaker by now, I don't know. But thankfully we have a lawmaker in the house who shall be addressing some of the questions you've asked me over the weeks. I told you I always try to jot down your questions so that we can address them when the time comes. And guess what? That time is now. Let me quickly introduce our guest today. I always start by doing the profile, and the profile actually is quite intimidating. Fún ẹ̀yin bàbá wa àti ìyá wa tẹ́ gbọ́ wa, ẹ má ṣe yọnu, má gbìyànjú láti sọ ní èdè abínibí wa èdè Yorùbá. Orúkọ wọn, orúkọ wọn kẹ́yìn kí n kọ́kọ́ sọ díẹ̀ nípa wọn, just a little about her. Ó pọ̀ actually. She is the immediate past Honorable Commissioner for Education, Science and Technology in Ogun State. Yes, Ogun State here. Alright, she joined public service as far back as 2015 when she was appointed by the then State Governor, Senator Abeokuta, CON-FCA. I told you it's quite a long profile. She's passionate about quite a number of things, particularly the Nigerian project. That's why, of course, she's one of the females that made it to the very exalted position of lawmaking in Ogun State here. Alright, I told you again, I repeat, it's quite intimidating. Let me jump to this part that says she's after receiving a bachelor, of course she's educated, alright, in economics. She has a bachelor's degree in economics from University of Ibadan. That's in Nigeria here. She added the word prestigious. So alright, she has a cognate experience both in private and public service life. I think I'll take a pause on that and move to this part that says that she's a member of the House of Assembly Ogun State here in Abeokuta. We call them OGA for short. We're in Abeokuta actually. Abeokuta North. So for all of you listening to me today, you're from Abeokuta local government. Today now your day, alright? Today is your day. Listen very attentively. Call your friends, call families. We'll take a very short break. And when we return, I'll tell you who our guest is. Alright, don't turn the dial. We'll be back in a minute. Alright, welcome back to your show, your program. You know that when it's about 30 minutes into the program, we turn the tables round where we get to listen to your opinions, your questions, and then we get to answer your questions as well. Alright, who is this big guest I have in the house today? Well, her name is Honorable Modupe Mujota. Yeah. Well, I know that many of you would have, the moment I mentioned Abeokuta North, Adam Lagiraleni, yeah, you're correct. You know, for me, quite unassuming woman, really. I expected many politicians to say, wow, we're busy or the like, so, but she really accorded us this opportunity to have her interface with those of us in Ogun State and even across Nigeria. Ogun State is always a leading state in many things. I've told us many times. So here we are again about to take the lead about who a legislator really is. No much time to waste. Let's move on. Let's feel her today. Kindly greet our listeners at home that are listening to us, whether at home or at work.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
All right, that's the voice of Mama. All right. Okay, now I've been wondering over the years, really, and maybe you help us today, and for our listeners at home as well. I'm a practicing lawyer. All right. In the court system, we have what we call quarterly returns. All right. Judges have ways of. There are a number of cases that they must adjudicate upon within a specific frame of time, and they make returns to Abuja. Same thing for the executive. We say governor did road, he did that, he made bridges, he built schools. But when it comes to legislators, we do not so much hear of such things. We just hear 4th, 2nd, 3rd, 4th assembly, the likes, 8th assembly, 9th assembly. But we do not know exactly whether there are parameters to measure whether a legislator is successful or not. That is what I want to begin with. Are there parameters for measuring whether legislator, let's particularly Ogun State, is successful or not? After your 4-year tenure, what and what are the indicators we can look at to say that, oh, they are successful or they are not successful, please?
Thank you very much for the question. And I'm glad you said to narrow it down to Ogun State specifically. I think that by far the most important of the parameters is representation. What do I mean by representation? There has to be equity of opportunities availed to the constituents, as well as access to the different provisions of governance. The second is balance. Balance when it comes to government governance and the accountability of governance to the people of your constituency. Balance is also speaks of counsel, your ability to bring counsel to the decisions that are going to be taken in the executive. And the last, of course, but by no means least most important, is the laws. We're there to preserve the society, we're there to protect society and to prefer solutions to the problems, both current and future, of society, whilst also taking advantage of opportunities that may present themselves for the benefit of the people. So the laws that we put in place, those that we seek to amend, those that we seek to amplify, those that we think should be moderated, and so on and so forth, are by far the most important of our roles as legislators.
I almost interjected while we were talking. A lot of questions popped up in my mind. Let's try and deal with some of them. When you say laws, are you meaning that the number of laws made, for example, by a particular assembly would determine their success or not? For example, if they made altogether, I know there are motions, there are laws and the likes. If we were to take laws, like you said, for instance, is there a rating? Like you made 5 laws? What exactly are we looking at?
No, because laws shouldn't be taken in abstraction, and they don't exist of their own. Laws need to be relevant to the people, and so you can't count off your head and say these number of laws if there's no relevance to those laws. It also avoids the scenario of a copy and paste legislative or legislative house that just looks at what's going on somewhere and without establishing relevance now puts that law in place. No, then the whole thing would go awry. So these laws have to not only be relevant, they have to be pertinent to both current and future implications for the people. And that's what makes the most impact, I believe. That
will drive me clearly to the next point. As a lawyer, really, I've seen some laws that, in my opinion, they look like copy and paste, really, and some are quite abstract, frankly speaking. But I'm happy that he's coming from all right. What she's saying, in the legal term, is you try to domesticate laws, all right. See how they apply to your people, and then make it ensure that it resonates with the people. But you also mentioned access. 3 things actually: equity, access, and balance. How do you mean access? Access to who from who actually?
Access to opportunities that present themselves, both at state level and at federal level. Even at regional level, there are access to opportunities that are available. You will agree with me that the best way to discuss this is probably using Christianity, where salvation is available, but if you don't take the step to grab it, you don't have access to it. So there are many opportunities that are available. If the people are not aware of those opportunities and you don't create access of your people to those opportunities, then they're at loss and your representation is not robust.
I see, beautiful. Well, let me just go to, I have my questions written down, really. I've seen that, it is a bit very. But then, the next question I have in mind is, do you think, in your opinion, that the people, your constituents, the members in Abeokuta North, for example, are they aware of these parameters? Do they know, for instance, that you're there, that they are to measure your success or progress by equity, access, and balance? Do you think they are aware? If no, why not?
I would like to believe that they are, and I say I would like to believe because when we were on the campaign trail, we did our best to communicate the value system that we represent and the values behind our thought profile, the culture and tradition, the cloth from which we're cut. And that would necessarily have given them the benefit or the opportunity to set a scorecard for us. So I would like to believe they do. However, I must be clear that even the most educated can get lost in the maze that we as a national contraption have brought to bear. So things like culture, traditions, am I a Nigerian first before I'm Ogun State? Am I Yoruba first before I'm Nigerian? And so on and so forth. All of those things, the colorations and the diversity that Nigeria can sometimes impress on the mind, can take away from the understanding of the various parameters by which a legislature should be measured. So, yes, I think the people have an idea, but the depth of that idea is what I cannot lay claim to.
All right, let's take a short break. We'll be right back.
Victory on the bench.
What? All right, welcome back to your program, The Law and You, on Rockcity 101.9 FM. Today we have us, Honorable Modupe Mujota. She is the Honorable House of Assembly member representing Abeokuta North local government in Ogun State. Yes, I will try and interpret in Yoruba what she has said so far. I will try. All right. So our next question, actually, you see, there are times that I listened to a campaign at a point. Someone was campaigning to the people, and then people said to him that if you don't perform to see Kotamashi 4 years, is that a case? If a legislator, for example, fails to perform, are there things that the electorate can do to? In this program, we have no holds barred. No, we say the way it is. Are there things to do, for example, to unseat a legislator that just goes there and says, "Hey, I adopt Loman Sonia, I support the motion." Really, what can people do when they are not comfortable with the contributions or progress of a legislator in the House of Assembly, please?
The people that elected you selected you to represent them. By that same power of their vote, they can recall you. The case has played itself out at federal level, even though it failed. But there's a process towards recalling a representative that is not functioning as expected. However, I think one of the most important things, or one of the most important responsibilities of the appellation honorable, is that you are expected to be honorable. And when capacity does not match the responsibility that you have, the honorable thing to do would be to step down. However, not many people do that, I'm sure you know.
Can you say that again, please? I heard you really, but I want to believe that those are home people here. So let's have it again now, please.
Well, I said the appellation.
The honorable part, exactly.
Yes, the appellation honorable calls for it. It's a sense of responsibility that you must have about it. And where your capacity is not matching the expectations of office, the honorable thing to do would be to leave the office, to step down. If you were in private practice, if you're not doing well, you reserve the right to resign or be shown the door. And that's exactly the same situation. In this case, as legislators, the people are our employers. And they reserve the right, since they hired us, to fire us as well, where we choose not to do the honorable thing and resign when capacity is not demonstrated on the job.
All right, and those at home, just pause a while. I just need to put that down so that when I'm saying to Yoruba, we get to follow better. The people actually employed us in court, all right, and they reserve the right to say we are not comfortable with you, and they can recall. All right, let's try and run through the questions, and then we take it to Yoruba like I promised we're going to do. All right, this one has been burning in my heart for quite some time. I have some legislators in other states, all right, some House of Assembly members, which in my very honest and frank opinion, have not done so much or enough for their people, all right? That grieves me as a person. I get to wonder, why are you there? People look up to you. Please, this is your hot seat. Tell Ogun State people, tell Nigerians, what benefit have your people had from you since you were? Tell us one by one, and let's have that. If nothing, say nothing. Don't worry.
Okay.
They can recall you now.
No problem at all. Okay, now here's the thing. Because state legislators are the closest to the grassroots, there is often a misconception. Well, I shouldn't say misconception. There's an expectation that they are the answer to all prayers. Now, my job primarily is as a lawmaker, is as a representative of the people. And so, the natural expectation of most of the people is that you answer to every call. So if somebody has a baby, they expect you to answer that call. Somebody's in the hospital, they expect you to answer the call. Somebody loses a loved one, they expect you to answer that call. Somebody can't pay school fees, the same thing. Somebody's having a party, they want you to contribute to their party, and so on and so forth. So the expectations are as many as the different people that I represent in Abeokuta North. The most important thing is how to try and establish a minimum base that one can appeal to on many fronts. So it's non-partisan, it's common to everybody, and routinely or regularly made available as the case may be. From the legal perspective, from the legislative perspective, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, a lot of horse trading, a lot of negotiations, a lot of ensuring that the access and the equity and the balance that I spoke of earlier puts the people of Abeokuta North in the right light. And I can't tell you how many hours are spent doing just that. The whole essence of being a confederation of people representing different parties is in the fact that we are many, but we are one body at the same time. So the diversity in the House presents itself as a common front, and so a lot of horse trading has to happen for that to be successful. But
I'm sorry, I have to cut in at this point. you know why? You know why I have to cut in? I can imagine that when I asked the last question, that our listeners at home, some of them must have tuned off their radio like Ejagbo cannot issue. My question, you can't do this.
I'm going there. But I must start from what the core of my job is.
Right.
And the reason why I started by enumerating the expectations is because that really is not the primary role of a legislator. The primary role is what I defined for you and the number of hours done there.
Yeah.
However, bring it down to Abeokuta North and my people, my beloved people. Apart from the sponsorship and support of many bills and motions on the floor, negotiation of development projects within Abeokuta North falls within my purview. So roads and schools have been the primary focus of this government, and to some degree health as well. We're going to be seeing a bit more on health in the near term, but roads and education. And so negotiations as to where development should happen within Abeokuta North, I have been instrumental in doing that as well. Interventions for vulnerable groups. So for widows, we've provided periodic empowerment by way of funding and also materials to assist them with trading. The handicapped community has experienced our support as well in similar ways. The leprosy community, because we have them in Abeokuta North as well, they fall under my purview, so we provide relief materials by way of food on occasion to them. Children have also benefited from us in some of the outreaches that we've done to schools. In fact, we had actually planned to give out shoes and bags, but then COVID took off and we had to put that in abeyance. We also reached out to the 4 healthcare facilities in our communities for pregnant women, giving them what we call the Welcome to the World packs that included what a nursing mother would need for the first 3 months after delivery.
Sorry, I'm sorry to question again. Are these things you've done or things you hope to do? Like
things that I have done. Things that I've done. I had a mini documentary that was screened when we had 100 days in office, and subsequently we've also continued to gather our material because you don't want to bore the people with what you've done. It's an expectation, and they expect that you would fulfill your obligation. So the hospital forbearance as well for people that owed hospital bills, we've been able to intervene in that. A major problem that our women had was what they call Komole Lantern, where they all had all these microfinance banks with loans. We did some debt cancellation for them. We paid off the balances of their loans. We did some electrification support for some communities in Shoyoyi to energize their transformers. We continue to have requests, and we continue to meet them as the opportunity serves us. During this COVID-19, we also distributed on 2 different occasions, reaching over 2,000 homes, food support and palliative support. We did that twice, and we will continue to make such interventions. We always have an imprest of dried food items in the office because, let's not lie, times are hard. So when people call and, you know, they need help, they're able to go to the constituency office at Enugada and get a food pack. We also, because washing of hands has been recommended as one of the major ways to keep this disease in abeyance, so we also provided wash stations at motor parks throughout Abeokuta North. And now, I believe, amongst other things that we've done, there's a hallmark project that is taking off at Okiono as we speak. It's what I playfully call a watering hole, but typically you would agree with me that many people just do a borehole and provide water. But we thought to ourselves that as a woman, what is it that women are the ones that frequent the boreholes the most? What is it that they primarily do when they get to the borehole? Aside from fetching water, they also want to wash. So what we're doing is providing borehole where they can fetch water, but it has a local laundry service that features 4 deep dish sinks for our women to be able to launder their clothes without the problem of hunching over to do so. And then we've added a shower and toilet facilities also in the conceptual design, and we're starting right now.
My people, you'll agree with me that I have to just cut in at this point. I was waiting for I'm so used to, you know, I'm passionate about Nigeria and Nigerians, right? You know that many times, like, you know, I've been confronted with guns, threats and the likes. I was expecting her to say that we want to do this, we want to pay bills, we want to do that, but this is somehow disturbing for me. But I thank God, really, for me it's a difference. I was expecting her to say that. I was really ready for her. I was expecting, the usual thing is we will do that, we will offset your bills and all the likes, but it's a different story here. Well, that, kudos. But before I say kudos, hold on. Hold on. Why should you say thank you? Are these not state government interventions? Did you do them on your own?
These are done purely out of pocket. Purely out of pocket.
Out of pocket, meaning
that is from my purse. From my personal pocket. God. No money from anywhere. From my personal pocket.
Please, if you're an Abeokuta North and you are hearing what your representative is saying, and you disagree, maybe you think, because I heard some say then that maybe if a legislator does that, it has to be a state intervention or state-funded project. If that's the case, let us know. Of course, we stand for truth in this program, but again, I wasn't expecting that. That's quite un-Nigerian of you. Okay, let's try and move to other questions so that those at home can benefit some more. Now this is where I get to put you on the spot some more. If you were to be the governor, of Ogun State, what one project would you want to do and be remembered for? Just one.
I take this very, very seriously, and I had the privilege of working with an exemplary governor, Senator Aderemi. It's truly hard because I worked closely with him and I saw the pain of trying to do so many things. If I were to do one thing, it would be education. I would focus on education because education is freedom. Education is liberation. He always used to say that uneducated people are easy to govern. They're easier to govern. Education, to my mind, releases a people to come into the fullness of their God-given powers and potential. And that is more than anything else. Once you create that foundation of education, the powers of aspiration are astronomical. And people can define and create their own path.
Sorry, you said education releases people to do what?
Into the fullness of their powers and potential.
Oh. Okay, I've heard it been said that knowledge is power. I was expecting her to say that maybe she was going to do this Akmon Bridge now. Well, that's quite a deep
Once we educate the people, they will build the bridge.
Wow, beautiful.
So I want to be remembered as the one that emancipated the minds of the people, opening them up to come into the fullness of their powers and potential.
Further questions that could have come out of these, I think I will just try and box them somewhere. All right, going forward now. Clearly, you are in a different political party from the executive, the governor of the state. This is a fact, all right? It's a fact. There were fears, and there have been fears over the years that where you have those in the legislative arm in a different political party from those in the executive arm, that there could be interest with conflict and the likes, and this could create some sort of hiccup in governance. Has that been the case in Ogun State? Clearly speaking, please. Is there a problem because
I don't believe so. And I tell you this. Earlier on, I had said that there's one unifying purpose for legislators, regardless of which party you're from, and that is the improvement of Ogun State and the betterment of her people. Whether you're from Abeokuta North, Jebu North, you are Ogun State indigene. And so, once I improve the lot of the people in Abeokuta North, ultimately the multiplier effect of that is that, it's like leaven, a little leavens a lot. So we also, I think diversity brings about clarity to some degree. You scrutinize your intentions and your actions better when you know that it's going to be looked upon by people with divergent views and opinions. So inclusivity, as is being touted to be something of a gift, I believe is an imperative for excellence in governance of this state as we find it now. So, because you get the best of all opinions, ideologies are different, but once we have goal congruence in betterment of the people, then, we can harness the potential across board, and I think that's what is available to this current government.
Well, I think at this point, what I'll just do now is, I can imagine that our mothers and fathers are waiting. All right, I don't know who should do the Yoruba routine. Let me try and do a quick recap then, can I? Alright, okay. In contacting so Ibawa Yawa, we ibe ti po gan o, Africa ti mu na. Okay, a be lọ́wọ́ pé kí làwọn kan tí a lè fi mọ̀ bóyá aṣòfin, bóyá wọ́n dángájíá àbí bóyá wọ́n kò lọ sùn. Bá ṣe máa rí nínú television nígbà míì. Ó mú ko te máa fi àwọn aṣòfin ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn àbí àwọn lọ sùn
bí tiwa kọ́ o. Láyé gbogbo ọ̀rọ̀ tá máa ń sọ ó máa ń gbòwà jìgìjìgì yẹn lọ.
Ẹ ṣeun. Alright, wọ́n ní nǹkan mẹ́ta, nǹkan tọ́lá kan pọ̀ ṣùgbọ́n nígbà mẹ́ta ló ṣe gbòógì jù ń bẹ. Ìkan equity, ìyẹn túmọ̀ sí pé tó bá débẹ̀ kí wọ́n rí wípé nǹkan ó gún régé fún gbogbo aráàlú. Ìkejì, access, mo ní kí o tún máa access yẹn. Wọ́n sọ wípé àwọn àǹfààní kan máa ń wá ìgbà míì láti òkè òkun, ìgbà míì láti ìjọba àpapọ̀ federal government, ìgbà míì láti state ní báyìí, káwọn rí wípé àwọn tó wà lábẹ́ àwọn ní constituency wọn Abeokuta North wọ́n ń jẹ ìfà kìíní. Ìkẹta ló pè ní balance yẹn wọ́n ní ọ̀nà mẹ́ta ní council, governance and laws. Ọ̀rọ̀ pọ̀ ń bẹ actually, ṣùgbọ́n jẹ́ ká tún wọ́n nípa àwọn committee wọ́n sọ. A ní mo wá bí wọ́n wípé òfin tí wọ́n dárúkọ yẹn under balance yẹn pé kí nǹkan gún régé, kí ni wọ́n dárúkọ law yẹn òfin níbẹ̀. Wọ́n ní àwọn òfin, ṣé iye òfin tí èèyàn bá ṣe, tí aṣòfin bá ṣe láti mọ̀ wípé ipe ó dángájíá àbí ó dájú àwọn kan. Wọ́n ní rárá o, pé kò ń ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ o, pé òfin kò ṣe kan tí èèyàn kánjú láti ṣe. Bí kò ṣe kí èèyàn ní òfin tó jẹ́ pé kò ní bá àwọn aráàlú lára mu, tófin bá dé kò bá jẹ́ pé nǹkan tá lọ yá ni gẹ́gẹ́ bí púpọ̀ ní òfin wa gẹ́gẹ́ bí agbẹjọ́rò èmi mọ̀, ṣùgbọ́n tá bá ti ẹ̀yà wá wọ́n ní ká kó jókòó ká wò dáadáa náà fínífíní ká rí wípé ó tu àwọn èèyàn lára. Alright, mo bi wípé ṣé àwọn aráàlú tí wọ́n ń ṣe aṣojú wọn nílé ìgbìmọ̀ aṣòfin ní ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn bí báyìí, ṣé wọ́n mọ àwọn kìíní yìí wípé kìíní tó yẹ kó máa wọlé kí Mujota o tá a dìbò yàn yìí o, ṣé nǹkan tá a fẹ́ ló ń ṣe? Wọ́n ló yẹ kó mọ̀, wọ́n ní kí ló fà á. Wọ́n nígbà tí àwọn ń kéde ìbò káàkiri pé kí làwọn sọ fáwọn èèyàn, kó dẹ̀ yẹ kí wọ́n ní lọ́kàn wípé lóòótọ́ àwọn kan tó yẹ kó máa wò bóyá àwọn ṣe àbí àwọn kò ṣe ní. Wọ́n ní ẹ wá o, tó wá jẹ́ wípé wá ṣe kúnjú òṣùwọ̀n ńkọ́, kí làwọn èèyàn lè ṣe? Wọ́n ní ẹ wò, mo fẹ́ fẹ́ gbọ́lẹ̀ dáadáa o. Wọ́n ní bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe dìbò yan àwọn náà ní agbára sọ pé ó yá àfẹ́mú padà wálé kẹlòmí lọ síbẹ̀. Wọ́n ní wọ́n ti gbìyànjú ẹ̀ tọ́nà pé fún sẹ́nitọ́ Dínímì láàyè. It's a fact really. ṣùgbọ́n ìyẹn a rí wípé ó padà fìdí rẹmi. They could not put through about that. So ká wá sọ wípé ọdún mẹ́rin ni ẹ ká kó máa jìyà wa lọ. No, we have a right the same way. Gẹ́gẹ́ bí a ṣe dìbò yàn wọ́n alágbá láti fi ẹ̀hónú wa hàn wípé rárá o ẹni yìí àfẹ̀mọ́ ó ní àwọn ìgbésẹ̀ kan tá a máa gbé lábẹ́ òfin àyè onígbà wá láti sọ ìyẹn. Mo wá béèrè pé kí ni àwọn kan tí wọ́n ti ṣe ṣẹ́rí ìyẹn mo ń dúró èmi tẹ̀síwò kí wọ́n máa sọ pé afẹ́ kọ́ kìíní kan afẹ́ fún àwọn ọkọ̀ lélẹ̀ afẹ́ bó ṣe máa ń sọ fún wa lọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀ ìgbà lórílẹ̀ Nàìjíríà nìyẹn. Ṣùgbọ́n wọ́n yà wọ́n lẹ́nu ìfàtọ̀rọ̀ yẹn tó sí lẹ́nu tó gbé sí nígbà tí wọ́n rí pé bọ́n ṣe ń kà lọ nǹkan tí wọ́n ti ṣe ni wọ́n sọ ó pọ̀ o. Ṣùgbọ́n ẹ̀yin tẹ́lẹ̀ wà lábẹ́òkúta náà ẹja ara wọn tó bá jẹ́ pé wọ́n ni wọ́n pa o. Wọ́n ní àwọn san hospital bills àwọn tó ń wà nílé ìwòsàn tí wọ́n lówó san bóyá tí wọ́n há síbẹ̀. Wọ́n ní àwọn kan tó lọ ṣe gbọ́múlé láńtà ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn tiẹ̀ pọ̀ lóòótọ́. Àwọn tó wá sí ilé iṣẹ́ wa agbẹjọ́rò ní lábẹ́òkúta ń bí Ogun State, right? Àwọn tó wá especially even kó tó dìgbà COVID-19 yẹn pé àwọn yáwó iye báyìí àwọn ò lè san padà. Wọ́n ní àwọn gbìyànjú láti ran àwọn kan láti san owó yẹn. Maternity packs àwọn tí wọ́n bímọ nǹkan tó máa need bóyá bíi diaper or whatever tí wọ́n fún wọn ó sì ṣiṣẹ́. Wọ́n láwọn tí ẹnu mi ò gbà ṣùgbọ́n tọ́wọ́ wọn ṣàṣẹ bákan kí n máa pè é bọ̀ lẹ́pọ̀sì ló ń pè lóyìnbó àti yé wa àwọn àgbàlagbà àwọn ọmọdé nǹkan tó ṣe pọ̀ ṣùgbọ́n nǹkan tá a bá ń gbà kó ní n fẹ́ fi yẹn bú wọn tẹ́lẹ̀ ní bọ̀ wọ́n ti wá pass. Ẹ jẹ́ ká tẹ̀síwájú lórí nǹkan tí wọ́n sọ. Wọ́n ní tó bá jẹ́ pé ẹ̀yin ni gómìnà ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn tó bá jẹ́ pé ẹ̀yin ni gómìnà kí lẹ máa ṣe. Ìyẹn náà wọ́n tún fi ṣe nígbàkúnbákan wọ́n tún gbòmí díẹ̀. Alright, wọ́n ní education ìwé ni wọ́n á ní kí ló fà á. Wọ́n ní nǹkan tó sọ pọ̀ náà wọ́n ní ṣùgbọ́n tí wọ́n bá kàwé agbára ó máa ń dọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ bí mo ṣe lè ṣe ayan ògbúfọ ẹ̀ nìyẹn. Mo wá rí pé lóòótọ́ iléèwé tèmi lọ àkọ́bẹ̀rẹ̀ kí wọ́n tá ń pè ní motto òun ni knowledge is power òótọ́ dẹ̀ ni. Ẹni pé àwọn òyìnbó mo ti sọ ní bóyá bí ọ̀sẹ̀ méjì mẹ́ta sẹ́yìn òyìnbó ló ṣe microphone tàwọn yìnbá kọ̀ǹpútà gbogbo ẹ̀ ìwé tí wọ́n kà ìmọ̀ tí wọ́n ní ló fà tí wọ́n fi ń ṣe gbogbo nǹkan tá à ń pè ní inventions yẹn. Wọ́n ní ìwé wọ́n ní ètò ẹ̀kọ́ wa báyìí ni àwọn máa dojúkọ táwọn rí pé àwọn aṣédébi àmì pé nǹkan táwọn fẹ́ kí wọ́n rántí àwọn fún yẹn pé ọ̀gá àwọn tẹ́lẹ̀ rí bóyá ọ̀gá wọn rẹ̀ nísìnyí ọmọ ìyá o sẹ́nitọ́ ìpínlẹ̀ mọ́sùn wípé ó ṣe iṣẹ́ kárakára pé nǹkan táwọn kọ́ ní ara wọn nìyẹn wípé wọ́n fi ètò ẹ̀kọ́ ṣeré. Alright, wọ́n ní ilé political party ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú tó ń wà ó yàtọ̀ sí ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú tí gómìnà wà. Irúkọ bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn sì kò ní máa fa pọ́nmísì omi òtò wọn ní ara gbọ́ kò rí dẹ́ wọ́n ní kí ló wà fà á tó mọ̀ pé èmi máa ń bèèrè pé kí ni ìdí ẹ mọ̀ àti sọ̀rọ̀ ó rọrùn ìwọ̀fà lẹ́nu èèyàn lè dànù gbà kéèyàn sọ̀rọ̀ bá ṣùgbọ́n kí wá ló wà fà á. Ìdí tí wọ́n fi sí ni wípé wọ́n ní lóòótọ́ ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú ọ̀tọ̀ọ̀tọ̀ làwọn wà wípé ṣùgbọ́n gbogbo wa ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn ló jẹ wá lógún. Pé ìlọsíwájú ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn ló jẹ wá lógún pé tábà wò ẹ̀ tábà fi yẹn ṣe àkọ́ṣe pé gbogbo tó kù pé kò ní fi bẹ́ẹ̀ jẹ àwọn ogún wọn gbogbo tó láwọn ṣe yìí mo tún fẹ́ jára wọn bẹ́ẹ̀ mo ní ṣe gómìnà ló ṣe ni àbí owó àwọn aráàlú tá à ń pè ní tax wọ́n fi ṣe ni wọ́n ní rárá o wọ́n ní owó àpò àwọn làwọn tó ṣe. Well, may God bless you for that. Indeed. Okay, I think we're going to take a short break now. We'll be back, please. Don't go anywhere. Don't touch your dial. Okay, ẹ káàbọ̀ para sórí ètò wa. This is your program, The Law and You. Kí ni yẹn Yorùbá náà? Òfin àti ẹ̀yin.
Òfin àti ẹ̀yin.
Òfin ṣe pàtàkì gan. Òfin ṣe pàtàkì. Òfin ló dé wa papọ̀. Some weeks ago, a boy of about 10-11 years old came to my office. He was begging for alms. Ọwọ́ ẹ̀ pé ẹsẹ̀ pé ó ń bẹ̀bẹ̀ ó ní ẹjọ́ ó fọwọ́ sẹ́nu báyìí pé òun fẹ́ jẹun. Mo wá pè wọlé mo ní kó wọnú ọ́fíìsì mi. Mo ní mo jẹ bí má wọrí o. Wà àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ wa lọ́fíìsì àwọn other lawyers wà ń bẹ̀. Mo ní kí ló dé tó ń tọrọ owó. Ó ní òun fẹ́ jẹun ni. Mo ní bí mo ṣe ń wọ yìí ó ti máa jẹun láàárọ̀ yìí ó lóun ti jẹun láàárọ̀ yìí. So gbà tó bí ẹ̀ fún ẹ lóúnjẹ kí ló tún wá jáde fún ìwà ń tọrọ káàkiri tí mọ́tò bá gbọ́dọ̀ ti wá ó lóun wá láti Ṣàpọ́n ó wá ń rìn wá sí Abíọ́lá wé tí mọ́tò bá gbá ọ̀tá ẹ̀ ń kọ́. Mo rí kẹ́rọ̀ tí mo sọ yẹn nǹkan tó ṣàrọ̀ wà lọ́kàn ni pé tá bá ti parí ìwàásù yín wáàsí yín ẹ fún mi lówó ni wọ́n ní kọ́lọ́run ràn mí lọ́wọ́ kí n mo fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ kan tó mi máa rò lójú ayé wọ́n ní òkè gbogbo ayé papọ̀ ká lè ní tó wù ẹ̀ kó dàbí ẹ̀ ní gbogbo ayé who is like a mentor to you in the whole world. For the first time, Bashin sọ̀rọ̀ yẹn, ó wá dákẹ́ mo ti hùkẹ́, ó wá ní president. Mo ní wow, pàdé president kò tẹ̀ wọ́n kọ́ president náà anyway, bọ́ inú òbínú, Mun president ni lórí gbogbo wa Nigeria. Mun we ko dabe go ni mun president wa sọ̀rọ̀ kon toro bó ṣe toro. Ó wá wo ni. Mo wá ní president yìí lóòótọ́ òbí ẹ̀ ló máa lówó. Ó ní ìyá òun ta orógbó. Bàbá òun iṣẹ́ ti bọ́ lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀. Mo ní but president yìí ó lè di. Mo ní gba owó mọ́tò, mo wá fowó díẹ̀ kún fún, mo ní máa lọlé tààrà gbé mọ́tò bẹ́ẹ̀ kó máa lọlé. Kọjú sí ìwé ẹ̀. President yìí ó lè di lọ́jọ́ ọ̀la. So kí ló yẹ kí n sọ̀rọ̀ yìí ni wípé àwọn tó ń gbọ́ nílé ni wọ́n pọ̀ gidigidi gan. Those listening to us are quite, maybe in the millions actually. There are young ladies out there listening to our program that want to be like you. Please, ma, what word do you have for them?
For women, all sorts of barriers are set for us. But the greatest barrier that we will ever face are the ones we set for ourselves. So don't set barriers that limit your potential. Don't set barriers that tell you you cannot achieve. You can be anything you want to be. The second one, because we're women doesn't mean that we should be given things. We need to still earn whatever it is that we have. So as a woman, don't think that you will use the fact that you're a woman or a girl as a crutch. It is not a disability. It is not an affliction. It is a power. And so don't expect to be given anything. Earn it. And then the last is in the words of a famous book that was availed to me by one of my own mentors, Mrs. Bola Adeshola, when I was in the corporate world. The book is titled Play Like a Man, Win Like a Woman. It's by Gail Evans, and she was an executive vice president at CNN. It says, play like a man, win like a woman. And she points to a number of things. The first thing, know who you are. Establish who you are and be true to yourself. It's to thine own self be true. The second thing, don't pursue things. As a woman, there is a tendency to pursue things. Pursue power and influence. Your ability to influence others is what gives you power, because they will volunteer that power to you once they feel that you have the right impact and influence on their lives. 3, focus on tasks, not friendships. When we're in a place of business, we don't have to be friends to get things done. We are measured by the output, not by the friendships. Women need to be less occupied with how many friends they have and more focused with how many results they're able to deliver. Be mindful of your stereotypes. Already people see you first as a woman, as a girl, as a wife, as a daughter, as a mother. But I'm a person first. So let me dispense with those stereotypes by virtue of the quality of human being that I am first. After that, all the other things can come in. I think that I live with this one. Dare to do. Dare to take risks. Dare to venture. Dare to hold yourself out on account of others. And watch God do the rest.
Actually, those things apply to everybody, really, if you look at it. Yeah. All you young girls out there, young ladies out there, even young women, young adults, you've heard from her. She's here with me in the studio. Unfortunately, our cameraman is not here today. She doesn't have 3 heads. She's like every other woman that I see around. So if she could achieve this feat, you can too. Be strong for yourself. Remember, she said be true to yourself. Don't pursue things. Focus on tasks, not friendship. It can waste away your life at times. Alright, we begin to wind up our custom already. And there's some questions I have to ask. This is where she gets to fasten her belt. So the since far as I could break the guest, because also we pay money to money will be along here all over ye. So kini I'm a one fan will be me. To fair the room got I wanted the but no fair danga jandi aye only ko gbìyànjú láti jẹ ara ẹ dára ẹ lójú. Alright, kò ní fi ṣe ohun tó ní àbí ohun tí ò ní. Ìkejì wọ́n ní má lé ohun kan tó bá dára ẹ lójú. If you have value nǹkan ló máa lé ẹ. 3, focus on task. Iṣẹ́ tó fẹ́ ṣe ni kò tẹjú mọ́. Tó bá ń kọ́ rẹ̀ lé ní kọ́ rẹ̀ lọ́la. A lè díẹ̀ á ṣòro láti jáwé olúborí. Okay, now to the final question that I have. We've taken so much of our time today. Thank you already. But then, I have a question, and simple yes or no will do for me really. I need it with just about a few seconds of explanation. Do you interface with your constituent members?
Absolutely.
You were too quick to answer.
Oh no, because it's a fact. Absolutely.
Where do you interface with them?
My phone is constantly on. They can reach me by phone at any point in time, and they do by WhatsApp as well. I have a constituency office that I frequent myself. It's always open. I believe my constituency office may be one of the few that if you get there on some Sundays, you will actually find somebody there. And then
you have a constituency office?
Absolutely.
Where is that?
Enugada. Just before the bridge, coming from Shukuri.
If you're not from Abeokuta, don't look for Enugada. Don't look for Enugada, by the way. Ask your lawmaker, where is their own constituency office? It's so important. Well, that's quite a beautiful one. All right. When can they meet you actually?
Typically, I'm supposed to be there most Wednesdays. Unfortunately, because of the epilepsy of COVID-19, I've not been able to meet up with that. But I was at the constituency office on Friday, I believe. Yes, I was there on Friday.
Okay, good one. Two more questions for you before you go today. The last but one question is this. Imagine for a second. Just imagine this is an imaginary thing now. Imagine for a second that ANLG, that's a doctor, not the government. Don't worry, they are jealous that our lawmaker is not doing this thing. Talk to them, get their contact, ask them questions. I always tell us, when you ask questions, I mean, she talked about education today. All right, let me just do a recap for her again. Now, the other question is, imagine for a second that Abeokuta, not local government, is a state, not local government, and you are their governor. What one thing? What do you think is the common problem they have there that you would do for them?
Abeokuta North is as colorful as the 4 communities that it constitutes. Ogun has different challenges from Okeono. Okeono is different from Owu. Owu is different from Bagura. They're just different people. So you have to understand them in the different ways that they present themselves. And that's why, for instance, in Okeogun, one of the major things, because it's a farming community largely, one of the major problems there is access for their farmers to bring their produce, to get to the farms and also to be able to bring their produce. Then they also have challenges with access to water, potable water. They also have far-flung distributions of communities. So a network, even of rural roads, would do a lot to open up that area and make access to market much more beneficial. They have produce there that they are not able to bring to the marketplace because of the road network and things like that. In Okeono, it's a different basket of things that are their challenges, because we're fortunate that we do have cultural iconic sites in Okeono. How do we tap into that? The people in Okeono, far from distribution, Elega and all of that, when you go there, densely populated areas that need to be opened up, that need to have their commerce, their enterprise stimulated and coordinated for it to attract the kind of return. Bagura is kind of like a melting pot, Everybody kind of passes through there, particularly when you're trying to get to Okeogun. So it's like a melting pot, and they have a lot of non-indigens, if you like. So there's a very vibrant Hausa community in the Bagura area, as well as other communities. The Igbo community too is very strong in that area. And of course, my own Owu, which is, more into they're like the more urban settlers and things like that. Everybody is dynamic. Everybody has their own coloration. So to do a one-cap-fits-all is extremely difficult.
Well, I was going to ask what Owu means. Well, Owu is not what you're looking at today. But if I understand got you correctly, you're saying that there are different, it's like fingerprints.
Yes.
There are different.
They're unique.
They're unique
issues. And they all have value to bring to the
But then Bagura seems to be one thing that connects everyone.
Pretty
and
much.
A network of rural roads would be a good thing. Well, I remember I was at the House of Assembly, I think, sometime last year. There was this PPP law that was there was a stakeholder hearing. I think it's in Gazette or something now. We're never going to that. I was going to ask that. What if a private company comes in, partners with the government to do those roads? And then,
I tell you what.
Yeah.
One of the things I thought about doing as a legislator, purely from my own purse, and if God spares my life to spend these 4 years, perhaps I will get to it by the empowerment of God, is that let's not wait on government to do the roads, because if we hinge their fortunes on that alone, because of the sheer size of the challenges government is facing, it may not get to them. It may not get to them in the time that is necessary. What then is the interim thing that we can do. Imagine this. Imagine if we could have an agreement with the farmers and say, you know what, we have two options for you. We either take your produce from you at farm gate and pay you off, and we take on the responsibility for moving your produce to the city and selling it off. But we agree a price that is favorable to you, meaning that everything that you harvest from your ground, as long as it's good quality, we will pay you for immediately. That means my farmer is released from the heartache of how the produce gets to
well, I'm sorry, but that still, for time's sake, that still doesn't solve the road network issue.
What is my farmer coming to the city for if his produce gets to the city? He's not interested in that. I prefer that solution for him. I put my vehicle or a vehicle on the road that is customized, that has the right kind of chilling, that can extend the life, that has the right kind of packaging, that can for the products.
Why is it not happening? Okay,
because it's a lot of investment. It's a significant amount of money.
You businessmen listening, how about you think about this? I think she can be accessed. Ask questions. Who knows? There could be a kind of the law is in Ogun State as I speak. Actually, I was in the assembly to discuss or debate that law. It's called Public-Private Partnership Law of Ogun State. I think it was signed sometime last year. Now, the final question. So, there's a writer to it first. How many females do we have in our assembly for Ogun State now?
We have 4. And we're one of the more, we have 4.
Don't do more that part.
Yes, we're one of the more progressive states in that regard.
Oh, yeah, okay. I thought we were going to say that.
There's only 1.
4. So, what challenges do you have as a female lawmaker? Are there challenges? If yes, what exactly? Speak to our females. I mean, you told them to be true to themselves.
Yes.
They need to know what they. Oftentimes, we hear about glories, so to speak, but we don't get to hear the stories. And that's what media has done. The damage media has done in recent times. Before we used to meet our mentors face to face. We sat at their feet and listened to them. We felt their pulse and their life. But in recent times, we just see Davido. Our youth see Wizkid. They just see Bentley, big cars and the likes. They don't get to Lamborghini and the like. They don't get to understand what it would exactly. All right. So if imagine that some girls are around you, ladies, maybe even vulnerables. What does it take to be a female lawmaker? I mean, it's a feat. What would you tell them? The challenges.
I'll sum it up in one word: grit. What is grit? Is to some degree a combination of integrity and resilience. So if you have your integrity and you stand for something, you will ultimately have the support of your colleagues and their admiration. So when you're 4 to 22, naturally there's a tendency that the conversations around the table will favor the gender that is more populous there. So for us, it's just ensuring that our integrity and our resilience speaks for us and earns us that seat at the table and earns us a hearing.
That would be a pattern show. I wish this could go on and on. Well, I have to apologize to our listeners. We're not able to take your calls today. I'm very, very, and very sorry. You know what you're going to do? You could send your questions to me, especially if you're an Abeokuta. If you are from the Bolu or other places in Jebu, send to your own persons, alright? And I will try. I've spoken to other lawmakers too. I hope to bring them to the program to talk to the people. There has to be a feedback mechanism where people get to understand, feel your pulse, know what you're going through. And for our Agbe, Babawa, Tiyawa, or even our Buru in the mechanized farming, wọ́n sọ̀rọ̀ kan tó jẹ́ ìmílógún òun ní bẹ́ẹ̀ kí lọ́ọ́ dédé ìdádókè lánàá tí ń sìn ọ̀nà ní wàhálà tó máa sábà dojúkọ wọ́n ní ó ṣeé ṣe kó jẹ́ wípé àwọn àgbẹ̀ tó máa ti kórè oko wọn tán wọ́n lè gbé mọ́tò kan kò sí sí nílẹ̀ báyìí wọ́n ní tọ́lọ̀ bá lọ́ra ẹ̀mí àwọn èmi dẹ̀ mọ̀ kọ́ lọ́mọ lọ́ra ẹ̀mí wọn actually ọlọ́run lọ́ra ẹ̀mí wọn lágbára ọlọ́run wọ́n ní wú àwọn káwọn gbé bí ọkọ̀ kan kalẹ̀ tó máa lè ní nǹkan tó ń pè ní chillers láti kí nǹkan tutù bí tomato yẹn sìn kò kí ń pẹ́ kó tó bàjẹ́ so orúkọ bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn wọ́n kọ̀ gbà lọ́wọ́ àwọn àgbẹ̀ ni wọ́n á lè kó wá síbi tí wọ́n ti máa ta á rọ̀ wọ́n lọ́rùn wọ́n wò pé táwọn ní tábà dóde ìjọba ò lè ṣe gbogbo ẹ̀ kò sí ìlú tí ìjọba ti ń ṣe gbogbo ẹ̀ tán yes ìjọba láti ṣe ju nǹkan tó ń ṣe lọ ṣùgbọ́n àwọn ọ̀nà jẹ́ ká rò ó náà àwọn bíi Dangote tàǹdarúkọ ọ̀tẹ́dọ́lá jẹ́ kó business ni wọ́n ń ṣe náà owó ló ń ṣe o ẹ jẹ́ káwọn náà ká súnmọ́ ìjọba ká bí wọ́n thank God wọ́n dẹ̀ sọ fún wa wípé ọ́fíìsì àwọn wà òkun ẹ̀yin àgbẹ̀ ẹ lè kórajọ association ẹni ra yín báwo la ṣe lè ṣe kí ni o ṣe ṣe o mo máa ń tẹnu mọ́ Ogun State is a pilot state. Pleasure having you around today to talk to not just Abeokuta people but everyone in Ogun State and even in Nigeria in fact. Please thank our listeners at home.
Thank you so very much for the privilege to serve. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today and share my thoughts and my modest contributions to society. I trust God to bless Ogun State, bless Abeokuta North, and bless Nigeria.
Alright, you know it's a program, The Law and You on Rockcity 101.9 FM. I am Barrister Kayode Aderemi. Those of you calling me radio lawyer, you better do your lyrics. Your friend, your brother, I'm Kayode Aderemi, and this is your program. Like I always like to sign out with this advice. Whatever thing we do between now and next week Sunday, 3 p.m. when we meet, ensure that you are on the right side of the law. God bless you.